Hello out there in La Land. Today we're going to learn about the critical subject of Chillul Hashem, Kiddush Hashem, and this certainly falls within the rubric of being an honorable mensch, how to sanctify the name of God in Chalila, how to desecrate God's name. Today's class is Lili Nishvas Rachel Leah, Pasuk Chaim Tzvi. So we begin. Chillul Hashem and its corollary Kiddush Hashem, the sanctification of God's name, Chillul Hashem means the desecration, is predicated upon the idea that our behavior, the way we conduct ourselves, has consequences. What we do makes a difference. And not only does it matter to ourselves and our own reputations, but it matters critically upon the reputation of the Almighty Himself. As it were, I don't want to say as it were, because it's even stronger than that. We can increase the reputation, or Chalila, decrease, insult the name of the Almighty. And that's very significant. Our job, as everyone knows, of the Jewish people, is to be Mamlechas Kohanim, the Goy Kadosh, to be kingdom of priests and a holy nation, is to bring the entire world to a closer appreciation, recognition of the Almighty Himself. And since we are God's representatives in this world, what we do impacts on other people and how they view God. The source material of today's class is taken from a very important article written by Rabbi Mark Dratch on behalf of an organization which he has founded called the Jewish Institute Supporting an Abuse-Free Environment. The Torah is concerned about Kiddush Hashem, and there's a prohibition about Chillul Hashem not to desecrate the name of God. And here is the verse, the pasuk in the 22nd chapter of Vayikra, Leviticus, "And you shall not desecrate my holy name, but I shall be sanctified among the children of Israel." So, albeit there's nothing that we can do that can alter God's inherent holiness, we do have the wherewithal to impact on God's reputation. We can affect His name. We can affect His reputation. Now, the term Chillul, to desecrate God's name, the root of Chillul is Chalal, which means a vacuum or an empty space. How does this connect? It also refers to a corpse, the desecration of sacred property, and the violation of honor. So in other words, what we're doing is when we desecrate God's name, we're creating a vacuum. We're taking God out of the picture, as it were, and what remains is an empty shell. It's an emptiness. God could have been there, could have been viewed with sanctity, and what remains now is simply a vacuum. And the Chillul Hashem is such a grievous transgression that it is much more difficult to atone for than for any other sin. Even Yom Kippur, even repentance, some say even your death, cannot atone for Chillul Hashem. Only allowing oneself to be killed, we're taught that only one should allow oneself, it is so severe that we are taught that one should allow oneself to be killed rather to violate the Chillul Hashem. The question came up, this is, those of you who have been tuning into my classes know, if anything, I've never been accused of being radical or a kanoi or very zealous, and yet, this is Torah law. And I quote this in the name of Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, and when Shach learned about this, he also concurred. The question was raised that there was a person, a member of the Jewish community who was very influential, and he had political clout, and acknowledging this person, by doing him a favor, he would then use his influence to release a Jew in Soviet Union who was a dissident. And Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky said, we cannot offer this man recognition because he has done a Chillul Hashem, he's married a non-Jewish woman, and therefore giving him honor would constitute a Chillul Hashem, even though the plight of this Jew in Russia was at stake. That gives you quite an idea of how severe it is, Chillul Hashem. The only redress for Chillul Hashem, for desecrating God's name, is the performance of Kiddush Hashem. And we can this way heal the damage caused to God, as it were, in God's reputation. At this junction, I'd like to relate a story about a very righteous, pious, scholarly man who passed away very recently, Rabbi Kalman Spurka, of blessed memory. Kalman Spurka, the end of his life, we're talking about a young man, younger than myself, I view myself young. Rabbi Spurka had a horrible case of cancer, and I used to visit him on a regular weekly basis in Shari Tzedek Hospital, and the truth is, my visits were very, very short. He was busy learning. He knew what he was in this world for, and that presence that the the clock is ticking, which we should all have that awareness. He was all that more aware to him. And every second he stole away to learn more, despite his incredible pain and suffering that I can't even begin to fathom. So my visits were short. I wished him well, and I often would speak to his mother, who was at his bedside. And I was coming there from teaching in a school, and I had mentioned to his mother that I was teaching on the concept regarding Kiddush Hashem, Chillul Hashem, sanctifying God's name, and Chalila, to avoid desecrating God's name. And when he overheard this, he said, I want to relate to you a story where I was personally involved in Chillul Hashem. Now, the last thing in the world I wish to do is say anything that's detrimental about Kalman Spurka, a man of such unbelievable integrity and sanctity, piety, scholarship, erudition, a real, genuine Talmid Chacham. He was rocketing to be a gadol when his life was cut short. And this is what he said. And it just